I once met a man who had spent time enlisted in 4 branches of the military. Sergeant Mason. He spent 6 years in the Air Force, Army, Navy, and Marines, only to finish his military career by returning to the Air Force. He explained that he knew he wanted to serve in the military and that serving our country was his life's purpose, but to be certain where he'd feel most fulfilled, he spent the minimum time of 6 years in each of those major branches. That means before finding the best version of his life's calling, he first had to spend 24 years experimenting with his options. This means, assuming he enlisted at 18, he would be 42 at the time he made the decision where he would be happiest living and working for the remainder of his life. I thought it was admirable. I could only imagine the perspective one gains from working within such diverse cultures. And yes, they're all military, but if you know anyone who comes from a military family, I guarantee the uncle that was a Marine has different worldviews than the cousin who was in the Air Force. The stories he told were enlightening. There were definitely aspects of every branch that he didn't like, but there were also aspects he enjoyed that were absent in each of the remaining. He was able to take on different responsibilities in different countries around the world with different people solving different problems with different sets of tools. He seemed entirely comfortable, like there was no doubt in his mind that he was exactly where he needed to be, that he would have a fulfilling career and be proud of what he will accomplish by the time he retires. He knew who he was, what was best for him, and loved where he was in life. No complaints, no regrets. At that time in my life, when I met this guy, I had a very limited idea of what I wanted to do with my life. I had an idea that I would potentially go in the Air Force. I was in Civil Air Patrol, which is like the ROTC, except it's the official auxiliary of the United States Air Force. Military was already on my mind, but this was a teenaged brain that felt invincible, and it was also before September 11th, 2001. The events of that day made me realize that I wasn't the type of individual you'd want in life and death situations, where my bravery was the deciding factor in the well-being of others. And that's okay. Not everyone is cut out for the military, but the frustrating part was my lukewarm idea of what I wanted to do with my future was now gone. So I entered the workforce, worked in customer service jobs, played in a few bands, recorded an album with one, was played on several radio stations, and finally landed in a workplace that makes me happy, and also working in filmmaking. 2 things I hope to be doing for a long time. From the time you are a teenager and well into your 20s, you're forced to make decisions that have a profound effect on the rest of your life. But what they don't tell you is you don't have the skills or perspective to be entirely comfortable and confident in those decisions. School is not the real world, and up until you're 18, it's the only world that's familiar to you. A lot of decisions in school are made for you. Everything is scheduled down to the minute. You're graded on every answer, and the feedback is almost immediate. You're frequently reviewed and told how and where to improve, and sometimes your parents can help you along the way. School stresses the importance of college, and they pretty much tell you the only option for success in life is to continue doing what you've been doing all this time, but pay thousands of dollars for it and focus on one thing you know you'll want to do forever. What no one ever talks about is when people reach the proverbial light at the end of the tunnel, graduate in their chosen field, then hate everything about it. A lot of people give up, not in the sense of going and working in fast food instead of their chosen career, but in an attempt to not admit defeat, they continue in that career, even though they don't enjoy it, they're not comfortable, and frankly, they're not even that good at what they do. It's funny, but spending 4 years of your life and thousands of dollars makes a person feel obligated to stick around and endure whatever the consequences. That's why I find Sergeant Mason's story so inspiring. He had a vague idea about what he wanted to do with his life, but he didn't know by what means he was going to accomplish it. He took the time to find a place where he felt at home, while at the same time finding out who he was and what he valued. It was an investment in himself, and that's never a waste of time or money. Can you imagine if we all had the same view, to leave school knowing this might not work out, and that's completely fine? What if we all gave ourselves the opportunity to try different careers, to spend years figuring out exactly what we wanted to do, what made us happy, and most importantly, who we are as a person? What if instead of giving into circumstances and enduring a job we hate because it feels like that's our only option, we take risks and are more open to failure because we know that if we take that time to learn and grow, The majority of our life can be spent doing something we love and are confident in doing. It's okay to be wrong, and it's okay to make mistakes. And I think that more people would be happy with the way that they make a living if they were reminded that you have no obligation to cling to a mistake just because you took a long time making it.